Guys, Fancy here. Today I want to make a video, an update about Giants B10. I made a video earlier, or before when I just started doing Giants B10, and I made a video explaining what type of stats you need for Giants B10. I feel like after helping a lot more people out in stream and a lot more farming of Giants B10, I'm more experienced with this dungeon. So this is kind of an updated video or a guide about how to build your very own Giants B10 team and what units you might need for Giants B10. So currently what I'm running for Giants B10, this is my Giants B10 team right now. It consists of Veramos, Theomars, Shannon, Bernard, and Belladon. These three units, Shannon, Bernard, Belladon, are what I like to build my Giants B10 team around. Pretty much for every single person that I recommend, every single person that I help. The main reason is because I truly believe that these three units are definitely worth 6-starring. I know a lot of people still doubt that, especially people who are like already in Guardian, really doubt that 6-starring Shannon is worth it. But my recommendation is this: if you are not currently in Guardian, then 6-starring Shannon will help you. Like, if you're not currently in Guardian and like able to complete TOA 100 hard, 6-starring Shannon will help you. She helps me so much in PvE. I use her to clear all of TOA. I use her to do TOA hard, mainly because she has an AoE that's on 3-turn cooldown, and the AoE applies a slow. Slow means that, you know, if the enemy is slowed, you get more turns, and they get less turns. Therefore, you get more turns to, you know, do your stuff, heal up. You know, if you have any additional CC units to CC, if you have any damage dealers to do more damage while they're slowed down. You know, you could really get a lot more turns throughout the fight if you're able to slow them. And that is also why Shannon and Bernard work so well together. Since Shannon slows the enemy target, Bernard speeds your whole team up with this buff. They're kind of like opposites, so it kind of multiplies, you know. So it's like, you know, since the enemy is slowed down and you're sped up, you get a lot more turns before the enemy moves again. That is why Shannon Bernard is such a good combo. Also, Shannon is able to provide the defense buff for your team. This is why you're able to survive so long. And Shannon, as a bonus, she has glancing hit on all of her basic guys, which is really nice, especially against the giant boss. As you can see, just now my Theomars died, but that is actually fine because my other 4 units are pretty much able to 4-man giants. I will come to a point about this later when I'm explaining my Giants B10 team. The core units are these 3 right here. These 3 are farmable. Shannon, you can get, she has a secret dungeon, I believe, and she's a natural 2-star, so you can easily get her from Unknown Scrolls. Bernard is farmable off Tamar Desert, and Belladon has a secret dungeon, so you know, they're not that hard to get. I like to build my units around Shannon, Bernard, and Belladon, mainly because they each provide something very useful in the Giants fight. Shannon, I mentioned earlier, she has the slow, which works really well with Bernard's speed buff, meaning you get a lot more turns before the giant moves. Shannon has the defense buff to help your team, you know, stay alive. Glancing hit on the giant, giving the giant a 30% chance to do glancing hit, which is like, you know, basically an attack that misses. It does like barely any damage. And Bernard has the attack debuff for the giant, also an armor break. Belladon has armor break, the ability to remove the giant's attack buff, which is really important. The giant with attack buff does a lot more damage than without the attack buff. And Bella also has a HP recovery skill, like a heal for you. And as a bonus, this also increases your attack bar, meaning you know, get even more turns than the giant. So how do we get started on the Giants B10 team? Say for example you have none of these units right now, and you want to start building your Giants B10 team. You don't have any units that you can use in your Giants right now. How do you start? What I like to do, or my main recommendation for most people, is to get Belladon as soon as possible. At the same time, you should be raising your Shannon Bernard. Shannon Bernard are much more attainable, because Shannon you can get off like unknown scrolls, you can get secret dungeons on win day, so she's really easy to get. Bernard drops off Tamara Desert. If you're aiming for Giants B10, you should have at least one other monster 6-star that you can use to farm. And then you can use that farmer to keep farming Tamara to raise your other fodders. And at the same time, you can farm for Bernard. And after you get Bernard, you can keep farming and get his skill ups. You want pretty much all your units fully skilled up for Giants B10. At least the natural 2-star and 3-star units. You want them completely skilled up. Now, first big step that I would like to take when I'm building my Giants B10 team is to have my Belladon 6-star as soon as possible. I always recommend people 6-star Belladon for Giants B10. Main reason is because Belladon is a healer that is pretty much useful in every single dungeon. You can use Belladon in all of TOA, pretty much all the elemental dungeons, giants, dragons, arena, guild battles. Like, you can use Belladon everywhere as your healer. And Belladon provides much more than a heal. Belladon has defense break, which is, in my opinion, the most powerful debuff in PvP. And the ability to remove the enemy's beneficial effects is really useful in a lot of situations, in both PvP and PvE. So first step definitely is to 6-star Belladon. If you don't have Belladon yet, you should keep working on your Shannon Bernard. Get them to 5 stars at the very least, and every Sunday you try really hard to find the Belladon secret dungeon. Try to find Belladon and possibly Darian's secret dungeon if you can. It wouldn't hurt to get yourself an Amen if you happen to come across one, but don't work too hard in trying to get Amen. I'll come to that in a little bit. Try to get Belladon as soon as possible. If you're still unable to get Belladon once you have both Bernard and Shannon max leveled at 5 stars, you can go ahead and 6-star Shannon first. You will pretty much need Shannon 6-star eventually for Giants B10. People that try to keep Shannon at 5 stars, I don't see a good reason to do that. Like, I don't see a good reason to not 6-star Shannon. Like, Shannon is just so strong. Like, I don't know how I can convince you guys, people who are skeptical about Shannon being super strong. I don't know how I can convince you guys. All I can tell you is I use Shannon for like TOA. I'm only on 63 on hard mode right now, but hopefully before the reset I can get at the very least 70 this run. I use Shannon to clear pretty much every single stage of TOA normal, which is, I guess, a pretty big achievement for a 2-star monster. Yeah, Shannon is definitely worthy of 6-star. All 3 of her skills are super powerful. Her only weakness is that her base stats aren't as good. Her base defensive stats, like HP, attack. Well, attack isn't really a defensive stat, but HP and defense, you don't really need to care about attack anyways. But her HP and defense isn't that good. So that is the main reason you want to 6-star her, just to get as much HP and defense as possible so she doesn't die. And Bernard, I used him for most of TOA. I used him when I built my first Dragons B10 team. I used him for Giants, for a long time, and I use him for Arena sometimes as well to try to get the first turn. He's really useful. You will see a lot of people use him for like end game PvP, and he is really strong for PvE as well. So Bernard is definitely a unit worth 6-star. Yeah. So after you get your Shannon Belladon 6-star, you don't necessarily need to get Bernard to 6-star yet to do Giants B10. He will actually be tanky enough at 5 stars to survive in Giants B10. The main reason you want a 6-star units in Giants B10 is because those units are usually the ones that are too squishy, or they somehow need like a lot of different stats. Like Shannon needs a little bit of speed, defense, HP, the survivability stats, and like high accuracy. And so does Belladon. Belladon needs high accuracy as well, some speed, like and some tankiness to survive as well. And the main reason you want to 6-star these two units is because you need their requirements for the stats is pretty high. So you want to get as much bonus stats as possible. This way you don't need to really focus on a certain stat for these two units. First step, get these two to 6-star, and at the same time you should be doing something else. A lot of these things that you're doing should be done at the same time. A lot of the game you just have to wait for the right opportunity or the right moment for you to do something, but you need to be prepared to do it. So while you're working to 6-star these two, you should at the same time be collecting all the materials to fuse Veramos. It will be ideal to fuse Veramos after you 6-star Shannon and Bernard, if you have all the materials for Veramos. If you don't have all the materials for Veramos, I have a solution for you as well. I will come to that later. And if you look over here, like your fusion hexagram, you should keep track of all the monsters that you need for Veramos. Pretty much all of them have secret dungeons. All the 3-star ones have secret dungeons, except for the lizard man over here, the wind lizard man that you need for the wind vampire, and the fire succubus, the fire beast hunter. These two are not farmable. They do not have secret dungeons, so the only way to kind of get them now is to be really lucky and summon them. Sometimes I know a few people who are in my stream and they still can't summon this guy, which is pretty sad. But there is a solution to doing Giants B10 without Veramos as well. But I would not recommend it. If you can fuse Veramos, definitely fuse Veramos. It will make your life much easier, and you do not need like really good stats to do Giants B10 if you have Veramos. Veramos for Giants B10, he provides the HP leader, which makes all of your units more tanky and less likely to die. Veramos, very important right here. He can remove the Giants defense debuff, the armor break. One of the towers for Giants B10 has an AoE armor break that applies armor break for 2 turns on all of your units. So if you have a Veramos that can remove the armor break, the Giant will be doing a lot less damage to your team, your entire team. Veramos you can you also use him to stun the crystals throughout the level, which makes your run safer. You take less damage, and Veramos has a dot for the Giants, which speeds up the fight, less chances of your team messing up, the AI doing something dumb, and you wiping or anything like that. If you have dots, it makes the fight much faster. And yes, contrary to popular belief, I do not think you absolutely need dots to do the Giants. The Giants actually is not super tanky. He's not like the bosses on like TOA hard mode and stuff, or the mobs on TOA hard mode who have like really high HP. The boss, you can actually, it's possible to nuke him down. That's why for some Giants teams, for like Guardian players, you see them use something like Orochi Devolution or something like that, and then just nuke down the boss in 2 turns. The boss is actually nukeable, but if you want to start out, you don't have like the best runes, having dots will help you a lot, because doing % damage to a high HP boss is really nice. Another key unit who you should try to include in your Giants B10 team is Darien. Darien provides the same debuff as Bernard. Their debuffs actually overlap, but they're really useful debuffs. The armor break and the attack decrease. This makes it so the giant doesn't hit you as hard. Armor break makes it so you hit the giant harder, which is really nice. Darien is most powerful because of his passive. He has this passive skill that decreases all the damage like taken by allies by 15%. This doesn't stack with anything else. Well, it doesn't stack with other damage reduction effects, but the higher your base HP and defense of your other units, the less damage they take, and it kind of scales according to that, because it's 15% of like overall damage they take, which really helps when your units are like 6-starred and more tanky. Darien really helps you then. And that is why you see a lot of Dariens in like late game PvP, in arena defense and all that. 1, because he can reduce the damage, and 2, because he actually hits pretty hard with his first skill. It scales with his max HP, so you can make him tanky and deal lots of damage at the same time. The easiest way to ruin him is actually just to put 3 sets of energy, and then like that's basically it. Like if you don't have violent and other things, 3 sets of energy will do. So I'm going to actually do another run of Giants B10. This run, I'm going to use the first team that I kind of suggested. This team. This is the team I recommend for most people who do not have a lot of like Nat 5 monsters or Nat 4 monsters that they can use for Giants B10. This is the team you should work towards right now. I know it's kind of boring, everyone having the same team, but this team will definitely work the best if you're doing Giants B10 for the first time. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, survivability is all about getting enough heals, but it's actually a lot more than that. It's kind of utilizing your different debuffs on the enemy, some CC, and special skills to try to lower the damage that you take on all your units. So anything like the Shannon's defense buff, Darien's damage reduction, Bernard and Darien's ability to put attack debuff on the enemy, Belladon's ability to heal and remove buffs from the enemy, Vermos' ability to remove debuffs for your team and CC the enemy. All those are things that help you survive within this dungeon, and that is why this team is super nice for anyone that is working on a fully auto Giants B10 team. Keep in mind, the goal here is to build a team that is fully auto. You do not have to click anything. You don't have to focus the crystals. You don't have to, all you got to do is when you get to here, set the target to boss, and that's all you need to do. You shouldn't have to touch them. This is fully auto, not semi-auto. You don't have to target anything, and yeah. So as you can see here, although my units are pretty tanky, actually my Darien is mostly on 4-star runes. I don't have very good runes on my Darien. I haven't been using him that much ever since I got my other support units to 6 stars. But he is actually doing fine. I have him on Violent Energy currently. If you don't have the runes for Violent Energy, you can just rune him with Triple Energy. Um, my Veramos is currently on Violent runes. You do not need Veramos on Violent runes, especially if you're starting out. You won't have the Violent runes to begin with. Um, so you can just put Swift on him. He has 100% base, 100, not 100%, 100 base speed, which is pretty much average. 100 base speed is the average base speed for like most monsters, um, which makes him, you know, viable for Swift runes. And my Shannon is on Despair Focus. My Bernard is on Swift and Broken Set. I use the Broken Set on Bernard just to basically get his speed as high as I can. I was willing to sacrifice not using the Focus Set, some accuracy to get more speed. And my Belladon is on Swift Focus as well. I use Belladon mainly for PvE, not that much for PvP. I use him in arena sometimes, but that's pretty much it. I don't use Belladon that much in guild battles, mainly because I actually do have a lot of supports that I can, you know, kind of switch around. So, and like both my Kona and Amen are on Violent Rune, so I prefer to use Violent Rune units when I'm in PvP. Although when I'm in the arena and I'm facing like Chloe and stuff, I use Belladon. I mentioned before that Belladon is super useful. You can use Belladon anywhere, and that is why I suggest you 6-star your Belladon first when you're making this Giants B10 team. Yeah, as you can see, putting dots on the boss gets you, a much faster fight. He loses a lot of his health whenever he is, whenever he attacks you. Like right now with 4 dots, he loses like 20% of his max HP, which is quite a lot. And especially if you're moving more turns than the giant, you can put a lot of dots on him. If you're moving like maybe 4 turns before he moves once, you can put like 4 dots with your Veramos. Assuming he has, some decent amount of accuracy and is max skilled. I definitely recommend 6-star, or I recommend both 6-star Veramos and feeding Devil Monster Veramos to max his skills. He becomes a very, very powerful unit when you max all of his skills. Yeah, he becomes a beast in PvP, and he will become really, really useful in TOA once you max his stun, and his dots are just like the cherry on top. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you do not have all the materials to fuse Veramos, there is a team that you can use to do Giants B10 on full auto as well. This team is what I like to call the free-to-play Giants B10 team. The earliest place this team popped up was on one of Nick the Greek's videos. I did not actually copy his video. I pretty much just reinvented the team. Kind of, but then I found out afterwards that he already invented the team, so I'll give him credits here. Yes, this team is use Bernard for leader because he's the only one with any leader skill for this team. It doesn't really do anything, but a little bit of extra damage will help. So we're gonna start this. You will see right now that this team could get a little bit more dangerous, and you will need a lot better stats on your units since you're losing Veramos' HP leader and his ability to CC. But in exchange you get a small heal from Konamiya, and you get more turns from Konamiya doing research on your team. Konamiya, if you want to run Konamiya for this team, I recommend you 6-star Konamiya. Mainly because he's water and he's not that tanky at 5 stars, so you probably will need to 6-star Konamiya. The monsters you will need to 6-star are Belladon, Shannon of course, and Konamiya for this team. You can keep Darien and Bernard at 5 stars as long as you can get them tanky enough. And It's kind of the same thing for the Veramos team. You 6-star Veramos, 6-star Shannon and Belladon to run that team. You can keep Bernard and Darian at 5 stars. Throughout the level it should be fine, but the most risky thing about running this team is that you do not have dots for the boss fight. If you don't have dots for the boss fight, it means that one, the fight takes longer. You know, it takes you more time to actually do Giants B10, you know, in like real time. And two, if the Giants gets more turns, the higher the chances of your team screwing up, like, you know, one of your debuffs missing, or like, you know, well, if they miss once it should be okay, but you know, you could get really unlucky and they can miss twice in a row, and then, you know, the Giant somehow doesn't have attack debuff on him and no glancing hit, and then like Belladon misses the C's and doesn't remove the Giant's attack buff. You know, the longer the fight, the higher the chances of, you know, bad things happening to your team, and that is why you want to make the Giants fight as short as possible, if you can. So yeah, this team actually takes a little bit longer throughout the level as well. You don't have Veramos to AoE during the small waves. You don't have Veramos to dot the mid golem, and that is why I recommend using Veramos for Giants B10. Before, in my previous video, I kind of just you know, mostly suggested this team to everyone. With a bit more experience in Giants B10 and recommending, you know, doing like recommendations on stream, I learned that it is actually better to use Veramos, since you can not only use Veramos in Giants B10, you will pretty much, unless you have a bunch of units with immunity and you have a 6-star, like, you know, 6-star monster that can remove debuffs, you pretty much need Veramos for Dragons B10, and Veramos can pretty much help you like carry you through TOA 1 to 100, and help you on TOA hard in the first few levels as well, because of his CC and his dots and his ability to remove debuffs, which is pretty much useful everywhere. And Veramos is used in, like, you know, a lot of people's defense teams, for arena defense, guild defense. I guess some people use him for offense sometimes. I use him for offense sometimes as well, because he has an HP leader that works everywhere, which makes him, you know, really versatile. You can bring him into like any scenario and it would work. Alright, so there is actually one thing I did forget to mention. If you want to use violent runes on any of your units, there is a risk. There's a risk of running violent on any of your units. As you can see right now, Darian proc one violent. He doesn't have the debuff on him. The risk of using violent is that if your Shannon has like the defense buff, and Darian happens to proc violent a few turns in a row, like he does right now, he loses the defense debuff. And if the Giant attacks the next turn, if he happens to get the 7th hit and the Giant counterattacks, Darian could very easily die. That is why it is, yeah, it is pretty risky to run violent on some of your units for Giants B10. You don't need to run violent on any of your units when you're building this team. You don't actually even need any despair runes. You can run your Shannon, your Shannon on Swift runes, or 3 sets of, or maybe like 2 sets of energy, 1 set of focus, or anything like that for Giants B10, if you need to. That will definitely work. If you have your Shannon Bella at 6 stars, they only pretty much need 4-star runes to be able to, for you to be able to bring them into Giants B10, and as long as you get the proper stats on most of their runes. I will get to the stats right now, and as well as mention some of the other units that you can use for your Giants B10 team. Alright, so let me switch to grid view and the stats. Alright, so you want to push at the very least for both your Shannon and Belladon, at the very least, minimal requirement of 70% accuracy for both Shannon and Belladon. Ideally, you want to have 85% accuracy on both Shannon and Belladon. 85 is the soft cap for accuracy. Since everyone has a base 15% resist. You want Belladon, pretty much every single one of your units, to have at the very least 15k HP. 14k could be minimal, but 15k is ideal. You might be able to push it with 14k. You want to have, try to aim for 700 to 800 defense on most of your units. Especially for Belladon and Shannon, because they actually need a lot of different stats. They need accuracy, they need a little bit of speed, they need like HP and defense. So their stat requirements are pretty high. For Bernard, you just want something like 14 to 15k HP, 700 defense. If I remember correctly, him at 5 stars has around 600 defense base, around 7,000 defense, 7,000 HP base. You should very easily be able to push 14k HP with around 700 to 800 defense if you rune him correctly. But for Bernard, you want his speed as high as possible. So what I recommend is to use the highest quality speed rune on the slot. It doesn't matter what rune you're using, like what type of rune you're using. Even if you have to use a broken set, it's completely fine. Basically, just run a broken set Bernard, or Swift Focus is ideal. It's high accuracy. Also helps you land the second skill, the debuff, on the giant, and whatever monsters you're fighting throughout the level. The way I would rune him if you were to keep him at 5 stars is actually not the way I rune him right now. I would only rune Bernard with accuracy on 6 slot if he is 6 starred already. The way I would rune him actually is to Swift HP, or to do Swift like defense HP on one of these 2 slots. And pretty much all you need to do is get 4-star runes and he will be fine. Darien, the easiest way to rune him is just use 3 sets of energy. He doesn't really need super high accuracy because he has 25% base accuracy to begin with, and then you're gonna get some accuracy through substats. So you don't need to use any like focus sets, or you don't need to put accuracy on the slot. He will do the best if you just put energy, since his damage scales with his max HP, and he becomes tankier when you stack HP as well. So he can survive longer and keep providing this passive to all of your team. For Kona, ideally Kona should be rune violent, but he will do fine with Swift. Do something like Swift Energy, Speed, HP. Kona's base defense is quite low, so in order to make the most of it, you want to stack as much HP as possible. And for Veramos, if you're just starting him out, you don't have violent runes, just do Swift, Swift Energy, Speed, HP. That is the easiest way to rune Veramos. You also don't really need to stack accuracy on him because he has 25 to begin with, and you're gonna get some through substats as well. So you can get something like 40-something% accuracy, and he will be able to stun enough in most situations. You don't need to stack his HP or his accuracy super high. And that is basically it for these main units that I recommend everyone use in the Giants B10 team. A lot of other units that some people might have and some people could use for Giants B10 are some honorable mentions are Cases. Cases provides the shield for your team, a slight heal and dots. In any of like the teams I suggested before, Cases will be a really good replacement for Darien. A better replacement for Darien. Like Cases can replace Darien and do better because the shield actually blocks out more damage. Especially if your units are not like 6-starred with like really good runes. And Cases also has a dot, so you know you can dot down the boss a lot easier. You can use the Cases to replace Darien in any of the 2 teams I mentioned earlier, and the Cases will do better. And on the second team, if you don't have Veramos, you can also use the Cases leader skill. 50% resistance means, you know, sometimes your Shannon and Bernard can resist the Giant's armor break or something like that. Delphoid over here. Delphoid, the Wind Undyne. She has a leader skill that increases the tankiness of your team. She has a immunity and the ability to remove debuffs. I would use her to replace Konamiya or Veramos if you can't get those 2. Veramos will probably do better than Delphoid, but Delphoid will do better than Konamiya. So it's like Veramos, Delphoid, and Konamiya for Giants B10. And her other skills, this is actually okay, but not really that useful. I think this provides a slow if you awaken her, which is pretty nice to have an extra slow in case your Shannon misses. Some wind monsters that you can use for Giants B10 are the Wind Archangel. You can just use them for his leader skill. Kind of use him to replace Darien or something like that. You know, because like 50% HP will probably do more than 15% damage reduction. You can use the Wind Chimera also because of his leader skill and his ability to dot and, you know, AoE and reduce attack power, which is really nice for Giants B10 as well. The Monkey King you can also use for his leader skill and his ability to basically CC the level more. And if you build him tanky, even if your other units die while you're doing Giants and you get the Giants to half health, if he's strong enough, he should be able to like basically solo the Giant. I would say if the Giant was like at 30% or something like that, and he's max HP. Maybe something like the Water Archangel, Ariel. You can use Ariel to replace Belladon as a healer for Giants B10. Ariel can remove the Giant's attack buff as well, has an AoE heal and a single target heal. Really nice and really tanky unit. You can also use Chasun, the Wind Sky Dancer, to replace Belladon as a healer. Although I prefer Belladon for Giants B10 because Belladon can remove the Giant's attack buff. Chasun has glancing hit, but Shannon already has that, so you don't really need 2 glancing hits. Especially if it's, you know, their first skill that does it. But Chasun does have 2 heals to help keep your team alive. The last monster I want to talk about actually is Amin. A lot of people try to use Amin or put Amin to their Giants B10 team. I really would not recommend using Amin unless you have mostly 6-star runes on your Amin, and if he is violent. Like, that's when Amin really actually becomes viable. He will not heal as much as Belladon when he's runed with like 4-star runes. I am really against people who rune Amin with like 2 sets of blade or like 3 sets of blade. That Amin's only gonna have something like, you know, maybe 16k HP because you're using 3 sets of blade, and he's gonna and 4-star runes, and he's gonna basically be just healing something like, you know, 1 or 2k, well, not even 2k, maybe like 15k or maybe like 18k HP every time he heals, and that's not going to be enough to keep your team alive. Even Konamiya will heal more than that with this, like every 3 turns. And that is why I don't really recommend Amin unless you have very good runes. And basically the only way you're gonna have nice runes for Amin is if you're really lucky in the shop refreshes. You know, when you get to the shop and then you happen to come across some good runes. Another tip actually is to open all your shops. You can go through the shop and look for like runes that you could use for some of your units for Giants B10, especially focus and swift runes, because most of your units are going to be rune focus swift, and possibly energy runes as well. For stats, the things you want to aim for on your runes is to have, like, for your Shannon, is to have like 1 rune with HP, 1 rune with defense, and then accuracy on 6 slot. This way you can get Shannon pretty tanky and her accuracy high enough. If you're pairing Shannon with Bernard, you don't need their speed that high. I'm pretty much the only person to rune Belladon like this, because I pretty much only use Belladon in PvE. I rune it with double energy or double HP accuracy. Most people will do something like speed HP or speed HP accuracy, and have something like violent energy. You know, use Belladon PvP, but that's the PvP build for Belladon. I think the standard PvE build for Belladon is still speed HP accuracy, but I just don't happen to have a very good HP rune on this slot. That's why I really can't rune speed on this slot. And the way you want to get runes is you want to focus on 6-starring your units first. Of course, you want to 6-star your Belladon, you want to 6-star your Shannon, you want to 6-star Veramos, or possibly Kona if you can't get Veramos. And then you want to get the proper stats for all those units. You want to go into the scenario map. Say for example, like you want good runes for Bernard. Like this is pretty shitty. Like I use this to fill a slot. You want good runes for Bernard. You want to try to get a speed rune. If you don't happen to have any good speed runes, you don't come across any in the shop, the best you can do is go farm a swift rune that is 4 stars, and then get that rune to +12. You will need most of your runes at +12. Even if they're 4-star runes, I would recommend you +12 them if they have the right stats. So what you do is you go in the scenario maps, and then you do Hell mode, and this map drops the swift set. So you want a 2-star rune, you go to this level, you do it, and basically you just do it over and over again until you get the one that has speed. And for the 1, 3, and 5 slot, you do the 1, 3, and 5 levels, over and over again, until they drop a 4-star rune. You go back to your rune page, your monster page, and then you power up those runes. You get them to +12, and you see the first 2 stats that they give. If it's like really bad, like flat stats, just sell the rune and go farm another one. You do this for basically, you just do this for like 2 days for each of your units. You will get the proper runes for your Shannon, Bernard, Belladon. And Darien doesn't really require anything like super good. You can literally just put any energy rune on him and he will do fine. Veramos, you want to just aim for high speed, high HP, and any bonus accuracy you can get. Yeah, you just that is basically it. I know a lot of people really like are stuck on this part of the game, and I basically made this video for a friend of mine because he wanted to quit the game many times, and he hasn't ever been able to build a Giants B10 team. He has played for as long as I have played, and he still does not have a team ready for Giants B10. He pulled a Chloe and decided to do the Katarina fusion early on, which is, in my opinion, a mistake. But it's still fine. It's not too late to start building your Giants B10 team now. If you do not build your Giants B10 team, eventually you're not going to have the runes for your units, and you cannot progress in the game. The Giant drops the basic sets the giant drops like all the sets that drop off the first continent of the map. So anything from energy to focus, the giant drops, and the dragon drops everything from then on. And the giant also drops spare runes. The dragon drops vampire runes. To get through TOA normal, all you need is actually just some decent despair runes, or some good despair runes that drop off giants, some good swift runes, and some good focus runes. That's all you need to get past TOA 100. If you can raise your Giants B10 team to be strong enough, you can pretty much get through all TOA. This team actually right here is what I use to get through TOA normal. You can do something like this as well. You can do something like this. It doesn't matter that much, as long as you have good stats on these units. You will be able to do TOA 1 to 100 on normal. Once you get your Giants team built up and strong enough, you can use them in your TOA. And that is why I recommend building Shannon, Bernard, Daladon, because they're super strong units. And if you don't believe me, that's your loss. That's totally your loss. And yeah. And for people that that still want to progress in the game, that don't want to give up on the game, I don't want you to either. And that is why I made this video, because it saddens me when people quit playing. I've always liked to introduce like my friends to play games and stuff and have fun and all that. It's one of the things I really do take pleasure in. It's like having fun with friends and introducing them new games, and it makes me sad when they say they want to quit. So it just and I don't want them to. I want them to keep playing with me, obviously. Yes. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something. And I hope if you're stuck at this part of the game, I hope you don't give up and keep trying. Because it was really satisfying the moment I was able to fully auto Giants B10 myself, like with all my own units for the first time. It was really satisfying. And yeah, I hope all of you guys get to experience that feeling as well. And that is it. Thank you guys for watching. Happy summoning and peace out.